listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. This is your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
This bye week has treated me well, but man, I am ready to get back into the groove. I've been, we have a Google Doc that we work on, and I've been working on it since Sunday because I've just been ready to get going. How are things on your end? Are we having technical difficulties again? It sounds like the microphone changed. I've been given the signal to just keep rolling. So what we'll talk about a little bit while Spencer gets things sorted out.
I'm back.
That's it. That was quick. I was just going to talk about quickly. I wanted to recap the bye week and that
let's do it.
Everyone got healthy. Texas Tech won the bye week 100-0. And by my approximate estimation, that could be slightly conservative, honestly. So
never felt better.
No, never.
Yeah. So you mentioned everybody getting healthy. Let's look at that injury report real quick. Let's just jump right in. We have so much to talk about tonight. Without even a game to recap, we have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Injury report, probably the lightest it's been all season. The guys that are out for the season, obviously nothing changed there, thankfully.
Yes, thankfully.
Out for Baylor, no surprises. Those guys have been out for a while anyways. And then questionable, Chapman Lewis, which is a question mark. Obviously, like you would love to have him back. The thing that caught my ear, I did hear this in the press conference. Questionable to McGuire is like 80% or higher.
Oh.
So if he's 80% or higher, like he may be getting close. He's talking about how he's trending in the right direction. He's making progress. Guys that are not on this list that have been Isaac Smith, Braylon Lux, Josh Kelly, no mention of those guys. So they are expected to be with the team. Love to hear that. Love to have all of those guys back. Yeah.
Should we back up briefly for soccer? I want to do a soccer update.
Okay.
Before we get going, I just got thrown off, and I just went head first into the shallow side of the pool, and that's where I landed was injury report, which is fitting. So, real quick before we dive more into what to expect against Baylor, kind of the status of the Big 12, where things stand. Basketball update. Got a lot of rankings came out, so we'll get into that too. But I wanted to brag on our Red Raiders soccer team. They are 11-2-2 on the season now. They are 6-0-2 in Big 12 play. The soccer team and football team have combined for 9 wins, 0 losses. Love to see it in conference play. And that all happened by tying Colorado at home this Thursday. And naturally, I was watching most of that game, but when it came time to do the whole bedtime routine, I missed both goals. And I should have gone back to look it up, but since it was a tie, I thought, yeah, it's a tie. I'll just let it go. I'll leave that alone. So Colorado, who's at the top of the Big 12, I think 3rd or 4th in that general vicinity, came to town, and we knew it was going to be a tough game, and it was. But Red Raiders tied and then won 2-0 versus Iowa State on Sunday, and the first goal was an absolute madness type situation where Macy Blackburn had a 40-something yarder. It was a free kick. I don't even know. It was this side of half. Is it half midfield?
Midfield.
I'm still learning the terminology, people. But it wasn't too far on to Baylor or Iowa State's side of the field. and the free kick just couldn't have landed more perfectly. It had one little bounce right at the goal and just touched right in. So right at the 60-minute mark, Tech got on the board 1-0, went on to finish that game 2-0, and are currently ranked 19th in the NCAA coaches poll. They were 24 last week, but they're about to hit the road, Spencer, and the road has not been good to the Red Raiders this year, but I think I know why. It's because they've played really, really good teams on the road. So they are 3-2-1 on the road. Their only 2 losses are on the road. One of their 2 ties is on the road. And of their 2 losses, one was to number 16, currently number 16th ranked Penn State, who is 11-3-2 right now. And then their other loss was to Utah State, who was ranked number 11 until last week, where they went 0-1-1. So they had a loss and a tie last week, and their record is now 12-1-3. But I guess because they're in the Mountain West, the coaches took big issue with that, and they went from number 11 in the country to being completely dropped out for losing one game and tying one game.
That's rough.
Yeah, that is rough. But that's a very solid team, and so is TCU, of course. That's who they tied on the road in the Big 12 opener. TCU is actually tied for first in the Big 12 with Texas Tech, just in general. So a couple of road games this weekend. They'll be at West Virginia, 6 p.m. West Virginia is tied for third. They are 10-3-2 overall, 6-1-1 in Big 12 play. Very tough matchup, especially at their house. And then Sunday, headed over to get some Skyline chili in Cincinnati, Ohio, 12 p.m. on Sunday. Cincinnati is tied for 11th in Big 12 play, 6-7-2 overall, 2-5-1 in conference play. So a winnable game, but winning on the road's tough. You know, this team is 8-0-1 at home. I don't think they've lost at home since 2022, and I think that was possibly a playoff game.
Playoff?
I may have misheard that when Hack said it, but just wanted to brag on the Red Raiders. Looking really great. Gonna finish in the top, at least the top quarter of the Big 12 conference, it looks like, but really have a chance to do something even more special than that. So keep watching, keep paying attention. Again, Thursday, West Virginia at 6 p.m., Sunday, Cincinnati at 12 p.m. Tune in on ESPN Plus if you can. And as always, subscribe to Seeing Scarlet via YouTube, via Twitter, via Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts and or info on Texas Tech women's athletics. They should be at the top of your list.
There you go. I'm putting it in the chat here, but let us know live if you're having any issues with the stream. I'm getting all kinds of like weird errors on YouTube. Now it says stream health is excellent. So I don't know. The weather could be playing tricks on our internet. If it's working for you, great. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know. If it's been wonky, let me know in case I can fix it. There's not much I can do, but I've never seen this many.
Unplug it and plug it back in.
I could just release the audio recording later, which I always do, but the stream is for the everydayers, the ride or dies that we greatly appreciate. Roy's in there. Howdy, fellas. What's up, Roy? Welcome.
Hey, Roy.
Thanks for rolling through with us, hanging with us. If there are any echo issues or audio connection issues, last week mine was all garbled. My audio was all garbled. Garble. Anywho's. All right. Texas Tech football. You talked about soccer. Football receiving votes still would technically be 32nd if it stretched all the way out there in terms of just how many votes. I did see, who was it? Was it Arizona State?
32. Sorry.
Arizona State that's now ranked after beating Arizona.
Well, they ranked? They're not ranked, but they got more votes.
Okay. They moved ahead of you.
Correct.
Like, well, we beat them. Our record's
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, they have. Let's see, they
It's
are
recency bias.
technically
Not having played this week is hurting.
they're technically 28th. They received
So
39 votes while Texas Tech received 18. So twice as many.
playing Baylor this week's not going to help our case. Not that I'm like groveling for
No.
recognition in the polls. I'm not. It continues to baffles and make no sense.
Yeah, I kind of like that it continues to baffle and make no sense because it just makes me feel more right.
Yeah. Well,
if we're 11-1 and we make our first appearance, that's fine with me.
I'll be a little salty. At that point, I'll probably just written everything off. It's like nothing makes sense. We're in a world where we put cheese and chili on top of spaghetti noodles. Wait, we do.
Dogs and
Some
cats
of us do.
getting along, mass hysteria.
Baylor this weekend, TCU next weekend. No TV schedule yet for TCU. We are in that 6-day window again. So we'll know Sunday when we kick off next week in Fort Worth. There are 2 games already set. Baylor's one of them. Shocker. Oklahoma State at Baylor, 2:30 on ESPN Plus. Interesting that it's an ESPN Plus and they went with the 2:30 selection. As I assume if you're streaming it, you have your choice. You can play whenever you want. And then Cincinnati at Colorado, 9:15 on the mothership ESPN. I wonder how many weeks in a row the Big 12 will go without having an 11 a.m. kickoff.
Yeah, it's been 2 in a row.
It's been 2.
There were a lot on buys, so that could be part of it.
Even
maybe just lack of games.
Even like the bottom teams in the conference aren't getting 11 a.m. kicks. Like Baylor, 2 weeks in a row they get a 2:30 kick.
I wonder if Baylor, maybe that's when they have the best attendance, is if it's a 2:30 game. That may have just been solely to get more people to the game.
Yeah.
I have no way of checking that. I'm not trying to throw shade. I will throw plenty of shade on Baylor probably throughout this podcast, but that was just a genuine question. Maybe that's statistically their best chance of having more fans show up.
Yeah. So of the matchups also still waiting to be announced, at least time-wise, West Virginia at Arizona, that could be kind of sneaky, interesting, and fun. BYU at UCF, that's a haul. It's quite a trip. Utah at Houston. Michael, did you see that Cam Rising's out for the season?
Yes, but there's hope for another.
How do you? Oh, like another season? Like he could play an 8th season? Yeah, I did see that. Because I guess he technically still qualifies for a medical redshirt for this season. And then Kansas at Kansas State, Sunflower State showdown. And then TCU's at Utah this weekend.
Correct. So that was my question to you. You know, with 5 games up in the air for that lovely 6-day window that everyone cares for, and the only 2 games scheduled are at 9:15 on ESPN and 2:30 on ESPN Plus, which doesn't count because that's not on linear television. That could be whenever, like you mentioned before. Should we be rooting for TCU at Utah this week? I mean, would put TCU at 4-3 and 2-2 in Big 12 play, hosting Texas Tech? Maybe that would move some eyeballs of the execs, and they'd put the game on Fox or put it. I don't know. I don't know if there's any real hope for that there. But out of those matchups, I have to admit to you, it's kind of a rough week. Kind of a rough week on the Big 12 as far as my interest level, which is strange because I've found something every single week to enjoy, but just scanning those headlines quickly, nothing jumps off the page except for Kansas at Kansas State. And that's just because of the vitriol there between those 2 teams. I don't know if that or think that that will actually be a good game to watch. But West Virginia to Arizona may be a good game to watch. If Cam Rising's not playing, Utah at Houston might be pretty good. Never know. But yeah, I don't know what the TV people are going to do. There may be a lot of FS1s and ESPN2s and whatnot out of that selection.
Yeah.
Even if the games do turn out good, I don't know what it is. That's not the most appetizing week. Am I wrong on this? Am I off?
No, I'm with you.
I mean, they may all be one-score games. There's been 100 of them so far this season in this league, so there could be a few more.
D. Wayne says, I hear some static and little weirdness with the connection.
Yikes.
Do you hear that, Michael? Is it I don't hear anything from you.
Is
there weirdness on my end?
I have, when I opened the YouTube, I did have the volume off at first, and I can hear a little bit of static when you're talking, but I don't know about me.
Well, I just hate everything about this technology piece, this hardware piece that's on the table next to me. Yeah, it's been in for repair and replacement 2 or 3 times. It's so frustrating.
Sorry, guys on the stream. Spencer sounds great to me. I sound good to him, but I do understand the stream's kind of goofy. It's crunchy right now.
It's cringy, probably.
And not in a good way.
Yeah. So, definitely catch the audio recording. It's going to be a lot better quality. That's a good thing about this thing. It does record for me most nights. So, all right. No considerable change in FPI projections for the rest of the Texas Tech schedule moving forward. There was a 0.1% change in the Baylor matchup today. I don't know why that changed today, because when you put it in, it was 66.6. I checked it was 66.7. Not that it doesn't mean much, but at TCU 50.4. Big static Spencer fan here. Thanks, Tad. I don't know if that's obviously the static is helping, so I'm not going to be offended by that. At Iowa State, 79% Iowa State home versus Colorado, 52.7% for Colorado. At Oklahoma State, 55.2% for the Pokes, and then back home versus West Virginia for game 12, 56% in favor of Texas Tech. So according to FPI, you've got more than 50% there for 2 games. That doesn't mean you're going to lose 4 games or you're going to win only these 2, but that's where things stand as of today, Tuesday, October 15th at 9:39 p.m. I watched very little. Correction. I watched 0 Big 12 football from this past weekend. I watched the final minutes of 3 different games Saturday night. Ohio State at Oregon, and then watched how Will Howard either lost track of time as he was running and whether or not he had a timeout to call when he slid. I watched a bunch of Ohio State fans forget that even if you slide, that like the clock still runs. So they're like, his knee was down with 1 second to go. I was like, well, he didn't pick up the first down. So it's a running clock. So of course it's going to continue to run. That was entertaining. Then flipped over. I was flipping back and forth between that and Florida, Tennessee. I watched Tennessee go into overtime with Florida. Shouldn't have, but ended up pulling that one out at the end. And then LSU Ole Miss also into overtime. Both of those games, the overtime SEC games, were really entertaining overtime quarters. I can't remember. This is, again, I'm going to go back in the face of what I exactly just said. I can't remember if it was a Florida Tennessee game where the first team, whether it was Florida that had the ball first and then missed the field goal attempt, or if that was Ole Miss. But I know Ole Miss, LSU, Ole Miss was methodical in their overtime period. It took them several plays to get down close. And then LSU won it on their first play of overtime of their possession. So, Michael, if you got any of the Big 12 games, want to give us thoughts, we can just give scores and say, like, you know,
Yeah,
Utah is in a free fall.
yeah. The only one I really have thoughts on. We were busy all day with soccer and went to the corn maze. Which, stay tuned. I'm sure everyone's dying to hear more about that in the what we learned section. I'll talk more about the corn maze, but that really occupied, I mean, 7-8 hours of my day. So I got to catch part of the Kansas State at Colorado game, and I was exhausted. And uh, I told myself I would, make it through halftime, start the third quarter. Kansas State came out. I think it was 14-7. Drove down the field, and eventually, I can't remember if it was the first possession after halftime or not, but went up 21-7 in the third quarter, and I thought, well, that's it. And I turned my TV off, and lo and behold, that was not it, because this is Colorado, and Colorado is really tough to kill, and came back and really made a game out of it. And Kansas State went from being up 21-7 to, I believe, needing a field goal in the last few minutes to seal it, 31-28. So heck of a win there on the road, even though it didn't look good. But yeah, that was the only one I really got to catch. So we could run through these real quickly. So Utah went to Arizona State and won.
Arizona State won.
Arizona State won 27-19.
Scadaboo's had like 300 yards over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you feel pretty good about you holding him to like 65 yards when he was here in Lubbock?
I feel like that made him mad. Cincy at UCF, Cincy won on the road 19-13.
UCF is kind of
nothing
falling
at all
apart
about that game. Yeah, they have. And what was strange was I remember watching the first half of their first game. I can't remember who it was they were playing, but they looked terrible. And then they ended up winning 50 something to whatever, and kind of started not looking terrible after that. But maybe that was who they were all along. All along the way, the friends they made along the way was the first half of their first game. Arizona at BYU. BYU wins very comfortably, 41-19. Looking very tough, looking very deserving of their record and their ranking right now. Possibly the team to beat in the Big 12. We will see.
Wild how they just exploded back after being so weird last year.
Another team possibly to be the one to beat in the Big 12 is Iowa State at West Virginia. Iowa State wins 28-16.
You mean they weren't intimidated by the blackout there in Morgantown?
I've never seen a blackout work against the home team before. Have you?
Never seen it happen. Especially when the black jerseys they don't belong in their normal rotation, or they don't claim black as a school color. That never
gives it more
so
juice.
Yeah, but yeah, blackout bites another one.
So yeah, then the Kansas State game that we mentioned at Colorado, Kansas wins on the road 31-28. But what was interesting to me, all of it is interesting, and that just goes back to what I said earlier. See, all those games, most of those on paper for some reason looked good, and then they turned out to be pretty good for the most part. And who knows, maybe next week will be the same way, and I'll be eating my words. But what was interesting to me was the road team won 3 games, and the home team only won 2. So that's an interesting league, especially in college, to have that many road teams come up with wins, especially on the same week. And Cincy going down to Orlando the week of a hurricane and winning, that's pretty impressive. Kansas State holding on against a good Colorado team is impressive. And then Iowa State taking it to West Virginia, another good road win. So that gives me hope for the Red Raiders. And I know that a lot's been said about McGuire's road record, but it's still not as bad as I thought it was, especially in Big 12 play. It's just his home record is so good. I think that almost works against him. but so far 1-0 in Big 12 road games this year. Got
1-0,
another one
baby.
next week. We are not looking past Baylor. I'm just stating a fact.
Which we'll get there in a second. We do have
Yes.
some YouTube comments to get through. Roy says it was Ole Miss that made the field goal. So Florida missed their field goal. Tennessee goes on to score to win that one. Ole Miss makes their field goal, but they kept having a bunch of penalties. When they kicked it, it was like 4th and 35. When they were huge field. D. Wayne says static isn't a huge problem just when we're speaking. Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Tad said
podcast.
KJ Jefferson is not good. UCF started a 17-year-old freshman this past week. Well,
I didn't even know that. Thanks
for
sharing that, Tad.
What a time to break in a kid that probably should still be in high school. D. Wayne says, I think ISU is more fool's gold because their Big 12 wins are not as good as Tech's. We'll see. They only beat Baylor, Houston, and West Virginia. Yeah, I would say Texas Tech's conference wins have more meat than Iowa State's, but also, like, I'm not discounting what Iowa State has done to this point. You'll obviously have the opportunity to put your mark on that in November when you travel up there, but you've got several games ahead of that to worry about before then. Roy says, what if UCF went in and beat Iowa State at home? Would love to see it.
Please.
Would love to see it.
Especially with a junior in high school taking snaps.
And then last sunrise, Tech will debut the new and improved program that they are this weekend. Well, wouldn't be a bad time. No updates to the Taj time tracker. We gave that last week. Obviously, no game, so no stats to update. Still there in third place with 3:35 to go to overtake James Gray at spot number 2.
I don't know. I read that Byron Hanspard got a few handoffs over in Cincy. He's a backup over there.
A couple of notes from the net success rate. The biggest disparity here, LSU super underwater in terms of negative in their success rate versus Ole Miss. And then Ohio State, Oregon right there together, as you would expect. You know, I did watch some of the Texas Oklahoma game. It was just a couple minutes early. When I saw the final score, I was like, I probably would expect it to be closer, but I guess Texas is legitimate.
I think
for
so.
now. I guess we'll see how that game this weekend against Georgia goes. I don't think Georgia's bad. I think they got hammered for losing once, but
oh, of course, yeah, they're not bad. Definitely.
I mean, I'd love to be in Georgia's position.
I have stayed away from Texas football this season. Yes, partially out of spite, but also, as I've mentioned before, there's just that many interesting Big 12 games to watch, and Texas was playing a lot of nobodies for a month. But Texas, Georgia, I may not be able to stay away from that one, people.
Yeah. Because we've kind of mentioned it a couple times, the Big 12 PFF preseason rankings, just a running bet here. How many of these guys aren't even starting anymore? KJ Jefferson, not starting. Cam Rising played 2 games. Granted, his was injury related, but he's played 2 games. Donovan Smith, DeQuan Finn. Come on now. All of these guys.
Alan Bowman, question mark?
Alan Bowman, question mark? Yeah. Comedy legend, Alan.
He legit may not be starting.
So.
Jake Retzlaff picked last.
He's flying up the list, as is Levitt and Sorsby. I think quarterbacks 12 through 16 are like in reverse order almost. Not that I'm saying like Shedeur Sanders and Noah Fafita weren't like they weren't good. They are.
Especially Sanders. Yeah.
But when you look at what has happened so far this season, Hoover, Sorsby, Morton, Levitt, and Retzlaff, like, wow, they should be like way up there.
Yeah, not 12 through 16.
No.
I was super impressed with Sorsby, especially once he had to do everything himself. And Levitt's a very solid player. Yeah, but I'm glad we are done playing those guys for now.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the Baylor preview. Michael, what do you say?
I'm ready.
Texas Tech SP plus 48 previously was 59th, going up against the number 62 Baylor Bears. Closer than I probably would have expected these two teams to be ranked from this program. So what you can do is when you look, you seen anything from the Baylor Bears this season, or just when you look at their statistical performances, you're like, they're supposed to be. I mean, they're top half essentially. Strange. Let's get through some of the comments from McGuire's press conference, and then we'll do our statistical analysis and preview. Obviously, as always, McGuire up first. Michael, you want to take this one real quick for us?
Yeah, I can. It's not a direct, read of everything. I'll just kind of roll through it. So one of his main concerns coming into the game are Baylor's receivers, particularly Josh Cameron, who McGuire pointed out is playing well overall, but especially in the red zone. We'll talk a little bit more about Cameron later, give you some stats to back up how well he is playing. Their new motto, he said you start out a year with the motto, what you think is going to be the phrase that's going to define your season, and then you get into that season, and their in-season motto has basically just become find a way, which is exactly what it sounds. Adapt to what the team is giving you. Yeah, what they're giving you offensively, what they're giving you defensively. Make those changes, and a lot of the ways that they're able to do that is, they have a lot more communication. They said in-team leadership. I think he said the captains meet every Tuesday and they kind of formulate a plan. I think they're even involved with some of the game plans and kind of setting the tone for the offense and the defense. But I think, a couple other things to address here, some good coach one-liners. He was asked about one-score games, and he said when he was coaching high school ball, he said that was always a good way to, quote, earn your chicken fry, which speaks to my soul. That was chicken fried steak was my birthday dinner since like I've been 10. It's been one of my preferences. So anyway, it's a good way to earn your chicken fries to win those one-score games. They talked a little bit about what you can do to stop Steve Linton, former Red Raider, and Garmin, who are both, quote, NFL guys. And really, he said, I mean, there's multiple ways to try, but it's going to be really tough. Mainly stay ahead of the sticks. Don't give yourself second and 12s. Obviously, involve the tight ends. Get those guys moving. Get those guys blocking. And he claims Kitley has a plan to slow them down. We'll see. Very interested to see what that plan may be. And he was just asked overall about the defensive improvement. What has he seen that has kind of given this defense confidence? And it boils down to being better on the run. And he said, if you're better on the run, you're going to be better in the red zone. And we have seen that. They've allowed a lot of yards, but have not allowed as many scores, which, hey, we'll take it. They do a lot less movement in the box pre-snap. He likes his guys to be set and ready to bounce and see where these gaps are and try to cover what the offense is doing as opposed to being moving around while the ball is snapped. He thinks that's a positive effect. Of course, setting the edge helps. Esther's being back to help with that helps. And then that the tackling, just kind of a basic one, continues to improve. Let's see, they are practicing with a wet ball this week just in case it rains, trying to get Morton accustomed to that. Of course, they can lean on the run game. Taj Brooks is pretty decent. Let's see, talking a little bit about the quarterbacks, Sawyer Robertson, Coronado, hometown Sawyer Robinson versus DeQuan Finn, saying that both could run the football, but it looks like Robertson's more impressive through the air, and they're allowing him, obviously, to play a little bit more. So that's going to be a big game for him. I'm sure we'll talk about him more later. But, one of the other questions that we were all kind of wondering too is the building. and I think it was Don Williams who asked this one. Is the building any different this week with all of the Texas Tech Baylor ties? And McGuire was honest. He said, you know what, year one and year two, there was more tension and more stress on those years. It probably helped the Baylor building that they won the first year, and he said it definitely helped our building that we won the second one. So now it's just kind of business as usual. So I do think there was more juice to it, and he admitted it that there was those first 2 years, but maybe some of that's kind of faded into the background a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah. So the Tech connection. I don't know if you want to touch on them here or
Yeah.
we get to them a little bit later.
There's a lot.
It feels like there's enough of these every week that like it maybe shouldn't be a thing anymore. Like they're just every team with the transfer portal has some kind of connection to Texas Tech and vice versa. It's not like we're anything special in that regard. But also because of the staff coming over from Baylor, too, is like I don't want this to be like a thing where every week there's somebody's Super Bowl type thing. Right? Like I know you want to get up and you're a lot more juiced to play in a longer standing Big 12 matchup, and it's an in-state matchup. Like those things matter. It means more to Texas Tech fans to beat Baylor than it will be to beat Colorado. Like it will feel different that week. It feels different getting ready to play Cincinnati than it does to face TCU.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want there to be like, okay, Sawyer Robertson is pissed off because Matt Wells chose Baron Morton over Robertson. Like I don't even blame him for that one. And I don't want Robertson to go off because like, oh, I should have been at Texas Tech or something. Like how you saw McGuire go, atomic on us in week 1. Or Kyler Jordan lose his ever-living mind and rip somebody's head off. Or Steve Linton figure out how to play with fire and have 3 or 4 sacks. I don't like any of that. I'm kind of tired of all these connections. Like just let me play a game that like, yeah, like I know the names and they know us, but like not from the same roster or not slided on the recruiting trail. Like let's just play the game.
Well, do you like that Coach McGuire actually recruited some of these guys to Baylor? I find that an interesting angle. He mentioned that in his press conference that linebacker Matt Jones and Randolph Garman, he actively recruited them. I think he went to watch them play. He went to their high schools and
yeah,
I think met with families, did the whole thing. Yeah. So that's kind of an interesting connection to have, but I don't think there's any animosity there. I think if anything, they'd probably be grateful to him for getting them to a good position for them to play and be successful. But yeah, it is just kind of a fun game to play to point out the connections. So without further ado, what are the connections, Spencer?
Well, so we talked about Sawyer Robertson, Coronado graduate, class of 2020, goes to Mississippi State out of high school, was there for 1 year under Mike Leach, transfers back to Baylor, been there since 2021, so he's been there, and this is now his 3rd year. Another guy from Coronado, Kevin Curtis, secondary coach, 2-time All-American and 3-time All-Big 12 safety at Texas Tech, played 6 years in the league. Lubbock native coach at Tech under Kingsbury, 2013 through 2015. Linebacker Kyler Jordan, graduate from Lubbock Cooper, not offered by Wells. Some would say like they couldn't figure out like a place for him in the scheme. Some would tell you Wells couldn't figure out how to drive from 4th and University to, Woodrow and University and go visit the school. Telling you it's a straight shot, but I wouldn't put it past Wells. Like there was a weird thing between Wells and Tuberville. Both did not recruit in city talent. Lots of guys left. Not offered by Wells. was Kyler Jordan. 8 total tackles this season, so he's not like a starting guy, but has played. He played in the first game, missed 2 games, and then has played in the most recent 3 games. Steve Linton, we've kind of touched on, linebacker for Texas Tech, transferred from Syracuse, now playing for Baylor. 12 total tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He either missed or was suspended for the BYU game, but he's back. Not their sack leader, but because it's all spread out, but has 2 and got him in 1 game, just like he got the majority of his sacks against Baylor last year. So those are the ones that I found. Well, you found the Kevin Curtis one. The other ones were ones I found. Anything else?
No. Did you want to get back to the press conferences real quick?
Yeah. You want to do offense or defense first?
I'll do defense first because
we did get a question from the YouTube into the defensive press conference section here.
Okay. So DeRuyter got up there, and I will admit, during this section, I was kind of paying attention to other things, and so I may have missed some of what he said. But so Tad's coming here, and he's asking. He said that DeRuyter was asked which true freshman could make an impact in their 4 allotted games to maintain their redshirt status. And he named 2 to 3 freshmen and did not include edge Cheta Ofili. Am I saying that right?
That or Cheetah?
Cheetah. That makes more sense. Or Cheta, like you might making a lot of Cheta. Yeah, that's right. But no, I remember that section, and I did not pay close attention there, Tad. So, but you're right though. I don't think that was one of the names he mentioned. Let's see. Basically DeRuyter just kind of touched on what McGuire already had. Some of these questions were redos, and asked how the defense was able to improve, and it was just playing faster and better communication. And he mentioned the pressure and the hits on the QBs have a cumulative effect, which I agree with, and everyone loved to see it, and he's hoping that he's able to dial that up a lot more often. Seems like hopefully the lid was torn off the basket last week or 2 weeks ago. And he did mention this, which kind of freaked me out a little bit. So regarding Sawyer Robertson, which we'll touch on even more later, using the phrase elusive, not afraid to use his legs. He's physical. He's a concern on 3rd down. He extends plays. Does that worry you at all, Spencer?
It does.
Right?
Where I take some comfort is Fafita was said to be that way.
Yes.
And because of the pressure you were able to apply, you reduced that impact, or at least delayed it. So I think there have been points where you could say like that would worry me, because Texas Tech has historically struggled with quarterbacks that don't just stand still. But recency bias says like you've done pretty well recently against a quarterback that can run. So,
well, I missed the last part of Tad's question. He was asking, so regarding the edge that we mentioned earlier, the freshman that's likely to not see playing time this year, Tad went on to say he was a high 4-star, and does that concern you at all? I don't think so. I think it's similar to the Micah Hudson conundrum, where hopefully they've found enough guys on the roster who can contribute that it would feel forced to throw them in there. And even when they use Hudson, sometimes it's forced. We've talked about that. But I don't think that concerns me. And, one of the reasons it doesn't concern me as much, especially on a position like edge, I liked what Kitley said. So just to kind of, I know it's Kitley, it's not DeRuyter, and it's different position altogether. But something Kitley said on the offensive line and their depth chart kind of struck me as interesting. He was asked about that, and Kitley he said he's kind of old school and he doesn't think that offensive linemen should have to play many snaps at all until they're at least redshirt sophomores. He would like to see them not just be fresh out of high school going against guys who've been in a college D1 program for 4 or 5 years, trying to push those guys around. So he's very high on the young guys, but he doesn't really want to play them as much if he doesn't have to, kind of for that reason. And so you could kind of look into that the same way on a defensive line slash linebacker position. It's a very physical position. Defensive backs and wide receivers, it's more of a skill position, more about speed and athletic ability. But there may be something to said about the guys in the trenches. If they're not playing in year 1 or 2, that may not mean anything, and hopefully they see it that way too.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a physical development thing. It could be Ofili just has a lot more to learn before he's able to get on the field. I'm not concerned. I know that like you saw guys like Adedire get on the field a couple of years ago, and that's what Tad followed up with. As a true freshman at this position, we're thin now, so you would expect a highly rated guy coming in could also be expected to contribute. But I think the guys that you got back are probably better than the guys that were ahead of Adedire in 22. So it's fine right now. Like if it was like the end of year 2 for Ofili, or even like into year 3, and he's like still not contributing, yeah, I'd have a problem with that, or I'd have concerns about that. So
you mean to roll through some more Kitley press conference, or what do you got? What else you got?
No, that's it. Let's keep it moving.
Okay. He had some interesting things to say. I did not look up this stat, but according to Kitley, turnovers to points. He was asked about how well they were able to capitalize on that and how much that meant. And, the obvious answer was, it means a lot. It's great. But I didn't realize this. Over the last few games, according to Kitley, Texas Tech has 59 points off turnovers. And he says last few games, so I'm not really sure. Maybe that includes UNT. I don't know.
Have we fact checked him?
I have not fact checked this, but I thought, well, I think he tends to say, I mean, that's one that someone could check if they had more time. I was at my real job and couldn't go back through and check all that. But if it's true, that's great. That is a big win on the side of trying to put games away. I hope that they can continue that and find other ways to put games away. It's been a struggle on that end. That's the only kind of quote complaint you can have when you're 5-1 is making some of those 5 wins a little bit less close. He was asked, McGuire was asked this too, but McGuire kind of dodged it. But he was asked, what are 3 things you've seen the offensive line do to improve this season? And Kitley thought the pass protection has gotten better, physicality in the run game has gotten better. But something they talked about a lot, McGuire and Kitley both, was straining to finish plays. Some of those Taj plays can last a little longer because he's patient back there, or he might wait for something to open up, or he will maybe create a lane that opened up that wasn't originally set for him to run through. So it seems like some of these guys are not giving up on the play. I don't think anyone said that, but they aren't expecting the plays to go as long as they are. And so I think that's something they're trying to work on. And the third thing that Kitley mentioned was taking ownership of things like that. So those are three things that the line has approved on. Not really sure what the strength of the offense is. He was asked what that is, but he said basically it just comes down to unselfish football players and finding a way to win. Kind of that new thing that they're talking now is just finding a way. No one
He
really
said he
cares
doesn't
how.
know. He said he doesn't know what the strength of the offense is.
No, I mean I think it's running the ball. That would be my thought. But I think it was more of a question along the lines of the identity of this offense. Like there's really I don't know if there is. I would kind of agree with that. I'm not saying that there is or that there needs to be. But if the true strength of this offense is being able to adapt to what they're giving you, which has been met with some varied success, that would be great. That's a great thing to say, and it's a great thing to strive for. I don't know if we've seen it every drive of every game, but it does appear to be that way, when the offense is able to score more often than they're not, they're figuring it out. Back to those strain plays again. He believes that the run game could have another 30 to 40 yards per game
Mm-hmm.
if you look at those strain plays in the last few weeks, and that Brooks can get 3 to 4 yards even when things aren't open. And he feels that Morton has been checking into the light boxes and calling the correct audibles at the right time for some of those good gains. So that's been a good thing to see. But one thing he's worried about with Baylor is, and they brought this up too. Baylor's very close to being 4-2 instead of 2-4 at worst, which is possible, which is true. They let that Colorado game was in overtime, and I forgot what the other close one was. We'll talk about it down here, but I think one thing they're going to try to do to attack this kind of middle field open too high defense is establish the run game, work in some RPO, take some shots, and attack one-on-ones. I hope we see all of that. I hope we see all of those things, but I hope it's just not 3 shots downfield, 3 plays in a row, and then punt.
Yeah, D. Wayne says, will Kitley open the game with 3 straight runs with Taj? I hope so.
Yeah, I would love it.
You attack 2 high safeties with a stout running game, and a lot of whether you put 3 deep routes against your 2 safeties, or if they're playing like cover 2, you hit them in those gaps between the corner and the safety. But I'm sure he knows these things, right?
Yeah, I think he does.
Professional offensive coordinator should know where to attack a 2 high safety.
And I kind of feel like I've rambled enough about Kitley's press conference. Just to button it up, he feels like Morton's playing great. Loves that he's only got 2 interceptions, but would love a higher completion percentage. Which, hey, that's what I said last week. And that the drop passes, he's kind of baffled by it, just like everybody else is. He said it's really uncharacteristic, and so he's trying not to. I don't think they're harping it on these guys. They know they're doing it. He just feels like it'll get turned around, and he does feel like the balance on offense has helped him as a play caller. And Coach Perry said that Kitley seems to be the most mellow he's ever seen him on the sideline, and it helps Kitley quite a bit. And it's not in his nature to run the football. He wants to throw it all the time, but it's also been nice to have a healthy quarterback. So that kind of sums up what he was saying, really. And we can get into the actual meat of this homecoming contest against the Baylor Bears. The Waco Bears.
The Waco Bears. How can
Waco Bears. Yeah, 3 p.m. ESPN2 this coming Saturday. And why don't you tell us a little bit about old Dave Aranda?
Do you remember a time when us Texas Tech fans wanted Dave Aranda as the head coach?
It was a brief time.
Is their current situation, like, Are they bad because they don't have McGuire? Because I remember wanting Dave Aranda so bad.
It's
They
a
are
fair question.
They are within, I don't know how many losses this season away from firing him. His first year, 2020, was 2-7. 2021, quite a bounce back. They go 2-12, 7-2 in conference play. Maybe not a coincidence. Their last year, they had McGuire and Blanchard. February 15th of 2022, got a contract extension, which is significant because Michael saw that this coaching staff, Aranda, is 11-20 and 6-15 in Big 12 play since that extension, which includes 2022, they go 6-7, 2023, 3-9, 2024 so far, 2-4, 25-29 overall, 15-25 in Big 12 play. Those are yikes worthy numbers. Texas Tech is the
one more thing to add. Did you mention what his record is after his extension?
11-20, 6-15.
Okay, just want to make sure. That's worth repeating.
Yeah. Texas Tech 34th best home team. Baylor 72nd best road team. Technically, Michael, they are 0-4 in Big 12 play this season. They lost to Utah, although it was a non-conference game. They won 45-3 versus Tarleton, and we're like, oh my goodness. What's his name? I have it written down here. Jake Spavital and the Baylor offense had things going. They lose a game in Salt Lake against Utah. At the time, you're like, okay, like you can kind of understand that. You can see that 23-12 bounce back and win versus Air Force 31-3. They lose an overtime game at Colorado
that they should have won.
Probably should have won. You see that one, you're like, okay, that's not terrible. 31-38. They lose a one-score game home versus BYU, and then got blown out at Iowa State by 22 points. In a game that they had at least a strong start. Head-to-head, it is a slim margin in favor of Baylor. 42 wins for the Bears, 41 for Texas Tech, one tie. The road team has won the last two meetings, and I don't like to point that out. They are 1-1 the last two trips to Lubbock, losing in 2020, which was that goal line stand by, oh my goodness, what is his name?
Kid from Arizona?
Yes, Colin Schooler just absolutely taken out their quarterback.
Was that Shapen?
No. Was it Brewer?
I don't think it was Brewer. Gary?
It wasn't Bohannon. What? Yeah, Charlie Brewer.
It was? Oh, Charlie.
It wasn't Michael, no.
Okay.
He was long gone.
I was like, that's not right. That's Alan Bowman type longevity. Okay,
and then
gotcha.
some.
Charlie Brewer.
Yeah. So, key trackable things we've been looking at: fourth downs. Baylor has attempted the most fourth down attempts in the Big 12 with 41. Nope.
21.
21 fourth down conversions. Sorry, conversions, not even attempts.
Oh no, that's not right. That's 21 fourth down attempts. That's my bad.
Okay, yeah, okay. I read it and then misread it and then attempted 21 fourth down conversions. Most in the Big 12. West Virginia is second at 16. Baylor is 11-21 in those attempts, 52%. So they've attempted the most and converted 10th most in the Big 12. Texas Tech dead last in that fourth down attempt, 3 of 10, 30%. It's actually been a while since you've seen a Texas Tech.
It has.
Fourth down attempt, which I think I'm okay with.
There might have been one at Arizona I could have lived with, but it obviously didn't matter.
Yeah. Penalties, both teams fairly heavily penalized. Texas Tech 49 penalties so far on the season for 400 yards. That's about 67 yards per game, which is 14th in the Big 12. 49 total penalties, which is first in the Big 12. Colorado is second with 45. Baylor's got 36 penalties for 347 yards. That is 58 yards per game, 11th in the Big 12, and 36, which is 8th in the Big 12.
Yeah, a lot less penalties, but the ones they get are pretty costly as far as the amount of yardage. But yeah, Texas Tech, sole possession of first place with most penalties in the conference.
Yeah, special teams wise, Texas Tech 25 of 25 in extra points. Baylor's also perfect, 19 of 19. And between the two schools, Michael, there have been 4 missed field goals, all kicked by Baylor Bears.
Oh.
When Baylor has the ball, offensively, they were 65th in S&P Plus, going up against the Texas Tech defense, 76th. Spavital is the offensive coordinator there. First year down there in Waco, was the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for Cal last year. Texas State head coach 2019 through 2022. Before that was the West Virginia offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach 17 and 18. They are 13th in the Big 12 in points per game, led on the field by quarterback Sawyer Robertson. DeQuan Finn, no longer starting for them. But Robertson is a 6'4", 220 junior. He's 10th in the Big 12 in passing yards per game. Basically took over for Finn. He played in week 2 and since then has been the starter. 84 of 142 passing. It's 59% completion percentage, just over 1,000 yards through the air, 9 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. So for Bears, you like that touchdown to interception ratio, 3-1. Only 27 rushes on the season, but 140 yards. So back to, I don't know if it was McGuire or DeRuiter. Effective enough on the ground. You need to be aware of that. Speaking of on the ground, they've got a ton of running backs that are playing and guys that you should know and should remember and keep an eye on. Their 2 leading rushers are almost identical in terms of statistical production. For a team, though, they're 13th in rushing yards per game in the Big 12 and 13th in yards per carry. So not like blow you away or scare you on the ground rushing wise, but when they hand the ball off, it's going to Bryson Washington, 6', 205, and Dawson Pendergrass, 6'2", 220. Washington has 43 carries. Well, sorry, both of them have 43 carries in the season. Washington, 186 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, 1 touchdown, and 34 yards as his longest. Pendergrass, 43 carries, 184 yards. So 2 total yards separate their first 2 guys. Also 4.3 yards per carry. Also 1 touchdown, a long of 46. Started the season as their number 1 back. Washington's kind of taken over in terms of number of carries per game. But guys on the roster you should be aware of and like, oh yeah, they're still there. Richard Reese is still there in that running back room, 5'9", 180 junior. He's got 37 carries, so not that far behind. Their starters, 143 yards, 3.9 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Oh, and also Dominic Richardson, transfer from Oklahoma State, 31 carries, 109 yards, no touchdown. So 4 guys between 31 and 43 carries and 109 to 186 yards. So they're all moderately successful.
Yeah,
Washington and Pendergrass are their leaders. Richard Reese and Dominic Richardson have been in those roles before and been successful, but under previous offensive coordinators. Skill, you would assume, is still there. So they've got guys. They're just not good as a team.
Well, it looks like, there's a chance. It's been an adjustment to see Texas Tech lean so much on one running back. I think that in the years past, especially with previous coaching staffs, they tried to kind of get things going with a couple of different guys. I know Kingsbury especially did, except for those Washington years. Uh, you know, Sir Roderick Thompson, of course, was kind of the lean-to guy, but Brooks came in quite a bit. It seemed like during those stretches here and there to relieve Thompson a little bit. So more of a relief role in the last several seasons for Texas Tech in the running back game. But yeah, the Baylor looks like they have no qualms about rushing any of these guys in. Not intended, but about rushing any of these guys in on any given play. So you could see you'll see at least two of them, but maybe three or four of them this week.
Yeah, and they're all old. They're all, except for Reese, they're all big. Like Baylor had a very specific and defined body type they were looking at, a running style, and they stockpiled. So when the ball is in the air, they don't have any individual wide receivers that are top 25 in terms of receiving yards. Interesting to note, though, Coy Aiken is 25th at 319 yards. 24th is Caleb Douglas at 320. I didn't realize they were so close. The guy that McGuire pointed out and mentioned in his press conference, Josh Cameron, is their leading receiver, 6'1", 220 junior. They have a ton of receivers that have very, very similar stat. Like
the running backs almost.
When you think about balance, it's not like
Yes.
they run it the same, they throw it the same. It's like everybody does the exact same thing. They're running backs, this number of carries, this yards per carry, this number of total yards. Receivers, their top four, top three receivers and then their tight end have between 14 and 18 catches on the season, between 170 and 207 receiving yards.
That is a very narrow window.
They're all the same dude. Different body sizes, different positions. They all do the exact same thing. Josh Cameron, 18 catches, 207, 15 and a half yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. He's the leader in yards per catch and touchdowns, long of 47. Ashton Hawkins, 5'10", 165, 14 catches, 203 yards, 14 and a half yards per catch, 2 touchdowns, long of 35. Senior Hal Presley, 6'3", 210, 16 catches, 200 yards, 12 and a half yards per catch, 1 touchdown. Tight end Michael Trigg, 6'4", 245 junior, 16 catches, 170 yards, 10.6 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns.
That's pretty crazy for a tight end to average over 10 yards per catch.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget about breakout player from whether it was last year or 2 years ago, Monterey Baldwin. He's still on their roster. 5'9", 170. He's got 9 catches, so a good game could throw him back into this top 4 mix. 109 yards, 1 touchdown. Keytron Jackson, also mentioned by Coach McGuire, 6'3", 205 senior, 9 catches, 165 yards, 18.3 yards per catch, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, the thing with Jackson, so when McGuire mentioned him in the press conference, I thought, well, he's only got 9 catches, but then I realized that they were for almost 18 yards a pop, and he didn't have any receptions in 3 games, but really kind of emerged, he came out a little bit last week in Ames. He was probably one of the few bright spots for them. He was had 5 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. So he might be finding a little bit more room in that rotation. And since he's an older guy, always someone to look out for.
Yeah. Okay, we talked about the Tech Lubbock connections. Baylor offense versus Texas Tech defense. Through the air, they're putting up 229 yards per game and 7.4 yards per attempt, so not great. Defensively, Texas Tech is surrendering 308 yards through the air per game at 7.9 yards per attempt, so I would expect those numbers to kind of meet in the middle. They are rushing for only 135 yards per game at 3.9 yards per carry. Texas Tech is giving up, as good as Texas Tech has been on the ground, giving up 148 yards per game at 4.3 yards per carry. They are converting 38% of their third downs, 53% of their fourth downs. Texas Tech is allowing teams to convert 40% of third and 53% of fourths. Offensively, Baylor is only scoring 28 points per game. This is obviously their biggest downfall, why they're losing a bunch of these games. They're not scoring enough. Michael, shocker. Texas Tech is allowing teams to score 32. Something else I'm going to add into these weekly matchups and previews. Offensively, Baylor is 14th in the Big 12 in red zone scoring percentage. So they move the ball a little bit, but they are not converting red zone opportunity. Like they're getting the ball into the red zone, and even then they're not getting points. 76.5% of their red zone trips are ending in points. Not even like touchdowns, just points in general. So 1 of every 4 trips into the red zone, they're coming out empty, which is significant. Texas Tech, 7th in the Big 12 in terms of red zone defense, allowing teams 82.1% conversion percentage there. Defensively for the Bears, they are 48th in S&P Plus, going up against the 24th rated Texas Tech offense. They have a defensive coordinator, but maybe just the title alone, Matt Powledge, first season at Baylor. Aranda is the de facto DC. He took over play calling for the defense this season. As a unit, they've racked up 33 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, 5 interceptions, and 20 pass breakups. I couldn't find quarterback hurries, Michael. I don't know where you find these things. Nobody seems to report these accurately. Tackle-wise, they're lead by linebacker Keaton Thomas, 6'2", 224 junior, 52 tackles, 30 solo, 1 interception. Second guy is the linebacker Matt Jones, who McGuire mentioned, 50 in tackles, 26 solo, and a sack. And then Devin Bobby, 5'11", 195 junior defensive back, third in the team in tackles with 30. So there's a big gap there between 2 and 3. But a lot of his are solo tackles. So he's a pretty solid tackler in the open field. 21 of his 30 tackles are solo. Has forced a fumble and defended only 1 pass, so tipped 1 pass. McGuire, we've talked about, was very high on Garmin and Linton. They're both outside linebackers. Garmin's huge, 6'8", 260, 6-year senior, has 2.5 sacks and an interception. Linton, 6'5", about 240, also a 6-year senior, and 2 sacks. Texas Tech offensively, when we have the ball, putting the ball in the air for 290 yards per game. That's probably as low as it's been since, what was it, when Cumbie was the offensive coordinator?
Yeah, maybe
Before
so. Or was
Because
it
we were running
lower?
through so well, so much.
It may not have been lower last year, but it seemed like it. But maybe it was.
When was he was here? 2021.
Yes. The
So-
last 4 games or 5.
I'm taking way too long to look this up. 2021 Texas Tech offensively. Well, while this page loads, it's just come on. Still waiting. All right. Yeah, 257 passing yards per
Ooh.
game in 2021.
Yeah, that's considerably lower. That's lower than I thought it would be. And
Baylor-
we're at 290 now, just to recap.
Yeah, Baylor only surrendering 177, but also at a 7.3 yards per attempt. We know how horizontal the Texas Tech passing is. So in terms of the strength, is probably their passing defense. They're allowing teams to rush for 162 yards per game, but only at 3.8 yards per attempt. So teams are rushing a lot against this defense and having just a little bit of success, but they're sticking to it, I guess. Texas Tech on the ground gaining 170 per game at 5.1 yards per carry. They are decent at third down. Defense 35% conversion, whereas Texas Tech is converting 48 of their third downs. Allowing teams 56% on fourth downs are the Bears. Texas Tech, again, only 30% of their fourth down attempts. Texas Tech is scoring 39 points per game. Baylor is giving up 24. Texas Tech is first in the Big 12 and red zone scoring percentage at 93.1%. That was a surprise to me when I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, I guess we have been pretty good about finishing drives in the red zone for scoring. Defensively, Baylor, not so good. Their numbers are good until you get to the red zone. It looks like they are 12th in the Big 12 at allowing teams to score. 84.2% of drives end in points against the Bears once they reach the red zone. The CFB graph, Michael, did give us a little bit of some foresight into the game against Arizona. I did not believe it. I was trying not to believe it. This one, inject it into my veins if this is what happens. Texas Tech is a projected 37-22 winner. I would take a 2-touchdown win. Just give me a 2-score win. Win probability percentage for Texas Tech 87% according to CFB graphs. You have a lot of blue on this matchup against Baylor, which is good. In terms of red, if you want to go look this up, CFB graphs with our guy Stats of War Parker. You get all of the individual matchups and definitions of what this looks like, but you have a significant EPA margin. Your offense is good. Your defense is good. Offensive success rate, you're 52nd. They've got a good defensive success rate. This is the matchup here, your offense versus their defense. Your defensive success rate is better than their offense. So, anyways, if you have any, if you believe in that sort of thing, look that up. I'm 6 games in. I believe these numbers are a lot more than I did game 1. Because it helped kind of show us going into the last few games that like there was an opportunity there when the betting line wasn't so much aligned with that. But this week, over under for this game, 57.5 points. Texas Tech 6.5 point favorites. Michael, where are you going?
Okay, here's where I'm going. It's been a while since I've felt this confident about a Big 12 game, and that's probably going to bite me a little bit. But Texas Tech has played very well offensively at home. I see that continuing this week, despite Baylor's stout defense. I don't want to discredit them in any way, particularly up front. They've got a really good core of linebackers and edge rushers and guys playing on the line that we're not discounting. But I think kind of what I'm hanging my hat on is just how this offense has been humming pretty much. I mean, they had that lull in the third quarter in Tucson, but aside from that, these last 2 games, there's not a lot to complain about, and I anticipate that continuing. On top of that, Baylor only managed 21 on the road versus Iowa State, but they did score 31 on the road versus Colorado. I do think Tech's defense is somewhere between those 2 teams. So all that to say, I think this defense will be able to slow down Baylor enough. Baylor may have some big chunk plays, but I'm relying on Baylor's ability or Texas Tech's ability to slow them down in the red zone. And I'm going to go with a Texas Tech victory, 41, Baylor 24. Oh my gosh. I did all that. Close. I did all that and I didn't even look at what you wrote. And yeah, we're within 3 points.
So I also I've picked Texas Tech offensively not to have that many points the past few weeks. And I've been wrong, and I'm okay with it. So I'm taking Texas Tech to score a little more, especially now that we're back at home. So I'm taking Texas Tech 41, Baylor 27. So a win, a cover, 2-score win. I don't know if Texas Tech scores last to put it to 2 scores, or if Baylor scores last and to get it back within 2 scores. It doesn't really matter to me. Well, I mean, it may change how I feel Saturday night if it's a 3-score game. And then Baylor scores, there at the end to make it a 2-score. Like, that's nothing. We beat them by 3 scores. Or if it's a 1-score game, we score late there. But I think we're both hoping for and looking for a comfortable Texas Tech victory here. We talked about a couple weeks ago in terms of killer instinct for this team. You got an opportunity here to put this one down, put this injured bear down. Excuse the grim nature of this one. They're struggling. They're losing close games. They are out on this team. Their fans are on this coaching staff. So let's see. D. Wayne in the comments also taking Texas Tech 42-14, so even bigger margin. Brother, I would love to see that. And Aranda gets fired. So preseason, Michael and I both picked this one as a victory for the Red Raiders. So let's just keep that rolling. Let's get Texas Tech bowl eligible in game number 7 of the season. And then we'll have our recap for you Saturday night. Probably not immediately after the game. We've got some stuff going on, so it may be a 9 o'clock recap. But I'll get with Michael after this.
Yeah.
We'll get it scheduled.
We'll talk shop.
Let's look around the rest of the Big 12. You do have a Friday night game. Oklahoma State up in Provo at BYU. BYU is a healthy favorite in terms of like where this game could have been like 2 months ago. BYU getting 9 points at home against Oklahoma State. 9:15 on ESPN Friday night.
That reminds me, I've got to put all my reminders in my Score app so I can try to watch some of that game before I fall asleep.
Really frustrating about that actually is how slow the app is. Like I've done this the past couple of days where like I'll go turn notifications on for games like game start, scores, or whatever I want to do. And it seems like every subsequent notification I turn in, the app gets slower and slower. But yeah. Oh, look, we talked about no 11 a.m. kickoffs. I didn't even look forward. Saturday.
And it's on ESPN Plus. What are we doing?
What are we doing? ESPN Plus. 11 a.m. kickoff. Arizona State at Cincinnati.
Maybe they think that's an advantage for the Mountain Time Zone team. No, they're Arizona, so they're 2 hours behind us. So they're 3 hours behind. Yeah, that'll be
8 a.m. kickoff for them.
Yeah, or 9 a.m. for them.
Cincinnati 3-point home favorite, which is a toss-up. You get 3 points at home, so I guess having seen both of these teams in Lubbock, I there's some interest there to see what happens there, but
I think that's going to be a good matchup.
I'm not turning notifications on for this game. Let's just say that. Houston at Kansas. Kansas is a touchdown favorite, 6.5 points, 2:30 ESPN Plus. Both of these teams are desperate, Michael, to get a win. Kansas is free falling.
Preseason ranked Kansas?
Yeah, 1-5. Colorado at Arizona. Arizona, are they done for? We'll see. 3.5-point favorites are the Wildcats hosting Colorado, 3 p.m. Fox. That one would probably be one I would turn notifications on to kind of keep up with as our game's going on. But also that may just get in the way of a good Discord interaction. So
that's true.
Maybe not.
Pick your battles.
Kansas State at West Virginia. Kansas State favorite on the road, 6:30 p.m. on Big Fox. I think West Virginia bounces back here.
They might, man.
I'm not as high on Kansas State as I was.
This kind of feels like a trap game. I mean, Kansas State squeaked by on the road after a comeback by Colorado that we've already talked about. I mean, they've struggled on the road a little bit.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it BYU where they just got hammered?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was like 31-9.
Mm-hmm.
UCF at Iowa State. Iowa State's a 2-touchdown favorite. Give me the Cyclones.
Yeah.
To win, to cover, whatever.
All of it.
TCU at Cam Rising lists Utah. Utah is a touchdown favorite. 9:30 ESPN kick time. I don't know.
I don't know about that either. I will try to watch some of that just to. Of all the games I've watched this year on Big 12, I don't think I have yet to watch a TCU game.
I have not either. Mm-mm.
And so I'll try to check some of that out just to see who
I haven't seen
Texas Tech's playing next week.
I've probably seen very, very little of UCF. I know I've seen 0 Iowa State.
Yeah.
I've seen 0 West Virginia. I've seen 0 Houston.
Well, that's been by choice for me. But I have seen, I think West Virginia, I watched one of their early games against their good non-cons. I guess if it wasn't Pitt, maybe Penn State. I watched some of that. But yeah, that's a good point. I haven't really watched West Virginia or Iowa State or TCU somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Those games, maybe they're going on at the same time as Tech has been playing, or just hasn't worked out for me to sit in front of a TV and watch them. But yeah, definitely those 3.
Yeah. So they will definitely be on after our game. Texas Tech should not still be playing at 9:30 at night. If they still are, we've got trouble. Or maybe we're trying to see like how many overtimes we can endure.
Or there was a 4-hour rain delay.
Yeah, there's that too.
That's kind of possible.
Seeing Scarlet in the chat. Hello, friends.
Hey, seeing Scarlet.
Welcome. Basketball. Let's get to basketball, Michael. Now that we're an hour and a half in.
Okay.
Well, okay. Basketball, we're going to talk about the releasing of the rankings, preseason rankings. And top 25 poll, Ken Palm and Haslametrics. We're going to try to get this quickly because preseason stuff probably doesn't matter as much. But it does matter because it sets the stage, and like the context there is kind of hard to overcome the first little while.
You have to mention it, and then we'll just move on. I don't think any of us are like upset or anything. This is just what the rankings are.
Do you want to look at schedule or you look at rankings first?
Schedule, you know what? We've been going so long, we could kind of skip. We could skip the schedule. I just want to remind everybody that we've got a really opportune football bye week coming up, which means that during that bye week stretch, you will be able to watch 4 women's and 4 men's basketball games and still focus on Colorado football. So you can do all of that at once. We'll go through the schedule as we get closer, but as of today, T-minus 20 days until Lady Raider basketball starts. Got my season tickets for my family. We're excited.
Nice.
And 21 days until Red Raider basketball starts. So we'll probably go through the schedule a little bit as we get closer, but we'll skip over that tonight in favor of the polls.
The men's schedule is still trash. That's just what it is. Which we talked about.
The women play Washington State, which I didn't realize until I was putting this together, and that's going to be a pretty spicy game on a Saturday night. So anyway, we'll get to those as we get closer to the actual season. But block out your schedule between the TCU game and the Colorado game because you got some basketball to watch.
You can take in, like you said, 8 total Texas Tech basketball games in that stretch without missing any football action.
Correct.
All right. Preseason poll. We're going to do Big 12 teams. Sorry, reading comment. Kansas 1, Houston 4, Iowa State 5, Baylor 8, Arizona 10, Cincinnati 20. Big 12 has 5 of the top 10 teams, 6 of the top 25. Also receiving votes, Texas Tech, Kansas State, BYU, and Arizona State. I think Texas Tech is going to be higher than this through the season, but it is
Yeah.
what it is.
It is
Um,
what it is.
I think Cincinnati's kind of a surprise there.
I
But
also
the
think
other-
Kansas at 1 is a surprise. I mean, how is Houston not further up? I believe Alabama was number 2. I'm not really sure. I have Big 12 colored glasses on right now, so I don't really look at the other conferences that much. But we'll get to the KenPom and Haslametrics rankings, but Kansas is not number 1 on either of those. But
Houston is.
yes, Houston's number 1 on both. So
That's
I
not
don't know.
scary at all.
No, not scary at all. And I would lean on that. And that's kind of what's interesting about this is we still have to play both of these teams. So I mean, it kind of doesn't matter if they're 1 or 6 or 4 or whatever it is. It's everyone agrees, the numbers agree. There's a very good chance that both of these teams are going to be really good at basketball again this year. So
yeah,
good times.
Seeing Scarlett has abolished the preseason bowls. I kind of wish we could.
Thank you.
But it's just a thing to talk about, and
it's just a bargaining chip for TV networks to use when they say they want to have such and such on their network at a certain time. It makes me mad, but I wish Tech benefited from it. I might not be as salty if Tech ever did, but since they don't, I'm just gonna stay grumpy old man about it.
I think as much as we complain about the SEC and Big Ten bias in the football polls, the Big 12 gets the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah,
not that we need it because we have a really strong conference top to bottom, but I mean 5 in the top 10. That's SEC football level. All right, KenPom, in terms of like actually looking at what teams do and can do, Houston won. We're going to go through all Big 12 teams, not just top 25. Houston 1, Kansas 6, Iowa State 7, Arizona 8, Baylor 11, Texas Tech 15, which is a balance of the 19th rated offense, which I would love to see a top 20 offense, and a top 10 defense, number 7 defense, an adjusted tempo of 337.
What? That's it. That's McCaslin, baby. That's what we're expecting to see.
So Texas Tech 15, Cincinnati 17, BYU 21. Big drop off, Kansas State 49, TCU 58, UCF 66, Arizona State 71, Colorado 80, Utah 82, West Virginia 87, Oklahoma State 89. Haslametrics. Houston 1, Arizona 3, Kansas 4, Iowa State 9, Baylor 14, TCU 15. Like, that's a huge discrepancy between KenPom and Haslametrics.
Big time.
Cincinnati 27, BYU 29, Texas Tech 30, 23rd ranked defense. 23rd ranked offense, 38th ranked defense for Texas Tech there, according to Haslametrics. Pretty big gap here. Not Houston. I don't know why I said Houston. After Texas Tech, then 59th Utah, 66 UCF, 67 Kansas State, 77 Colorado, 86 Oklahoma State, 88 Arizona State, 95 West Virginia.
It kind of pains me. Does it pain you just a little bit to see West Virginia this low? Just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, because they've been so good for so long under Huggins, but he gone.
Yeah, he gone.
So
after that big recycling bin in the sky.
Okay.
I thought I had something there.
Anything else basketball wise?
Not that I know of. Not yet. Just I can't believe it's almost here. So that's it. Just the typical middle-aged man response to everything. I can't believe it's halfway through October. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then let's get to what we learned and wrap this thing up. What do you say?
I am ready.
What did we learn, Palmer?
I don't know, sir.
I don't know either.
All right. I have nothing officially in here, but I'm gonna throw it in. Michael, I had another bacon blaze burger from Whataburger.
I knew what you were gonna say because you texted me about this. Okay.
Oh man, it was so good the second time too. I've had it twice now, I guess in 10-day span.
Did you still go junior?
I went junior again. I got
Yeah.
no bun because I came home and I used one of our own buns, just to get a little extra fiber and fewer calories. Because I was already having a burger, and
That's
I
very
did
interesting. So did you order it with the bun?
no, I ordered no bun, so it comes in a little orange tray, like
Yeah.
whatever. And it came with it came upside down, which was it irritated me, but it came with the two patties, the cream cheese between them, melted cheese, but the cheese was on the bottom. My grilled jalapenos, I went and grilled jalapenos again, and my bacon. And then in their little gravy cup, little styrofoam cup, was the blaze sauce, which is I guess more like a jalapeno ranch.
Yeah,
But
there's something like that.
anyways, so I put that on one of my little keto buns, put my burger, I reassembled my burger the right way up. And I smashed it, Michael, because it was so good.
Man, I grew up. I grew up as with a dad who used to say we have cheese at home, but I had never heard of anyone
We have
saying we have
buns at
buns
home.
at home. You just no, you hold that bun. I don't need the bun. We have buns at home.
Yep.
So even with a keto bun, which I'm not trying to degrade them, I've never had one. They may be delicious. Still top-notch burger. Where does it rank with your all-time favorites now?
Okay, so I've had bad experience with a stomach bug with the I don't know if it's stomach bug or food poisoning. Obviously, you can't pinpoint that with the buffalo chicken strip ranch sandwich.
Yes.
So that one's tainted. It was up there. The A1 thick and hearty is up there. Sweet and spicy bacon burgers up there. I haven't had a green chili double in a while. Although I put green chilies in my omelet every stinking morning now for the past month, and they hit every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost out, Michael. I'm concerned. I'm worried
Got
about
a source. We could talk offline.
In terms of things I would go back for, that rotate in and out, this is the one I want. I didn't care for the Southern style burger that they had a while ago.
See, I did. I think that might be in my top three. I'm with you. The A1 burger's up there. It's a shame that you hardly ever see it anymore. And the green chili double, those are almost tied for me. But probably right behind it would be that Southern one with the coleslaw. I don't know what it was about that. I was for it. This blazing one though, it might be number 4. But the Monterey one is that the one with the the sautéed peppers and
the Monterey Jack,
Monterey Melts or something?
Monterey Melts. Yeah, that one's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's just it wouldn't be one I'd go for right now.
Yeah.
Last Sunrise says best food sports show in the universe. Appreciate it, man. It's kind of our thing.
Well, if you like food, let's talk some more of it, because what I learned this week was the best time to go to the corn maze is on the day that Lubbock reaches the highest temperature it's ever been this late in the year. So on Saturday, it was a record as far as records have been kept. It was 99 degrees on Saturday, October the, what was that?
How is it so hot?
The 12th. 99 degrees on Saturday, October the 12th. And it has never been that hot this late in the year. The old record for that day was 92 degrees, which was set in 1989. So it blew that out of the water. And it was also 1 degree short of the highest record temperature ever for the month of October, which was set on October 3rd, 2000 at 100 degrees. So that was the day we chose to go to the maze, because we had a soccer game at 1:30. The Queen Bees are kicking butt. They have yet to lose this year.
Nice.
Just phenomenal. I don't think they've lost in 3 or 4 years, Spencer. I honestly can't keep up with it. I'm not exaggerating. It's been a while, and they just continue to play well. And this year they're doing 7-on-7 instead of 4-on-4. We've talked about that and added some players to the team who have just been fantastic and a lot of fun to watch. So this this level of soccer has officially reached the fun point where you're nervous and you're excited and you're genuinely enjoying watching them. So anyway, this was like the one day we've just had a lot of stuff going on that we knew we had to get out to the maze. So we got out there about 5:30, did some pumpkin patch picking.
Mhm.
Our little 7-year-old rode the horse and was just smiling the entire time.
Nice.
And we hit up the food. It's really super solid jalapeno cheddar sausage wrap. I mean, those just hit, man. And especially, they're wrapped in foil, so the tortillas had a chance to get just a little bit soft, a little bit. I don't want to say soggy because that's not the right word. It sounds like a degrading thing. Damp.
It's absorbed some of the grease from the
Yes,
sausage.
it's kind of like it's steamed. It's steamed,
Mm.
and it's so good. So even that was good. Their queso is great, Spencer. They have
Stop.
really good queso. We got some
Okay.
nachos to share, and then the big thing that we had to get on the way out the door after we did the maze in the dark, which kind of gave me anxiety, but we got through it. Anyway,
It doesn't make a difference if it's day or night. You can't see anything anyways.
well, we hit up the kettle corn on the way out.
Oh my gosh, it is S tier kettle corn. Am I not?
It has
am
got
I
to
lying?
be. No, that has got to be some of the best kettle corn I've ever had, and I forget it every year because I'll get popcorn here and there, and my wife and daughter really like it. Popcorn doesn't like me that much, so I kind of pick and choose my battles. But kettle corn was going to win that one because I mean we got a full bag of it. It was gone by like lunch the
Mhm.
next day, and
Ours barely makes it back to the car.
it was something about that kettle corn. It almost immediately dissolves, kind of like a I don't know. Did you ever get those breath mint things that were like little sheets?
Mhm.
I don't think they used to. I don't know if they do that anymore. So you'd put it on your tongue, and it was supposed to. It was like a Listerine. It was supposed
Yeah.
to help. So they kind of just boom, they're just gone. And phenomenal kettle corn. So great
Just-
experience all around.
Just salty enough, just sweet enough.
Yes, and just light and airy and perfectly cooked. I felt for those guys cooking it though, because they were cooking kettle corn on the hottest day ever this late in the year in like a shed. I mean, the shed's open air and everything, but God, it had to be hot in there. They were blaring some Black Sabbath. I really appreciated that. Good job, young
When-
men. I mean, I've got hope for the youths. They were
Utes.
blaring some 50-year-old music, man. I'm good. I'm all about it.
When we went, I guess it was last year when we made the kettle corn purchase. It was night. It was a cooler night, and the kettle corn was like it wasn't warm still, but it was noticeably not room temperature,
It was
not air
warmer than
temperature.
it should have been on a night that cold. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I could not stay out of it.
It's just insane.
Reignited my fire for kettle corn. I didn't think I liked it, and then I was like, I like it. We are going to the maze this Saturday. I didn't want to go on a Saturday, but we're going Saturday. We're going Saturday morning, almost as soon as they open, to hopefully avoid some of the line. Unless it's raining, then we're not going. We have a nephew basketball game, 5 or 6-year-old basketball game. Not looking forward to that, but I mean, supporting my nephew, sure. A youth basketball game of this age, not looking forward to.
Yeah, our soccer game is at 9 on Saturday morning, the earliest it's been all year, on the coldest day it's been all year, and the only day it's going to rain. So I'm not sure how this is going to go.
Yeah. So 9 o'clock basketball game. Then we're gonna hit up the corn maze. If we're there for lunch, Michael, you're talking me into these nachos, the
Get
queso
that
at
queso,
least,
brother.
and
Well,
the
and
sausage wrap. Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but like, so we wanted the nachos on the side just to share. So we just did the queso and chips, which was great by itself. Have you ever gotten Julio's queso, like in the cup? It's almost like
No,
it's kind of thinner. It's kind of a cheese sauce, but it's got the peppers in it and everything.
I guess not. No.
It reminded me a lot of that, but it's definitely homemade. What I was coming back to say though is you can add brisket to it. I believe, and you can church these up. You can add jalapenos and brisket, and I think maybe something else to it if you wanted. But highly recommend the queso.
Well, my wife and I are huge queso fans, so that may have to be
Oh, yeah.
a thing. And
Yes.
if we don't eat there, then we'll probably just go to our normal Taco Villa. Although I may talk myself into another one of those stinking bacon blaze burgers. No bun. Come home, but use
We
my
got
own bun.
buns at home.
I may say no cheese too. I don't know if their cheddar cheese added anything. Just melted myself. Especially if they're going to put it in the container upside down. Like half of it stuck to the container, and just that was irritating.
Well, yeah, not to be a broken record, but without the bun, I don't think it would, because it does kind of help it stay cohesive. But yeah, it may not add much. I mean, that cream cheese overpowers almost everything in that burger in a good way. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Scarlett says, hot take nobody asked for, but I will die on this hill. They need to play 3-on-3 basketball at the youth levels, not 5-on-5. And all of our sanity. Yeah. For development reasons, for sanity. Yeah. I think 3-on-3 would be pretty good. Because most of the time,
good. And so would the old school way of
half court.
Yeah, half court. Yeah, where okay, you only play defense, you only play offense, because you're the only one who knows how to dribble.
Yeah,
my mom used to play that back in Bledsoe, Texas. She only played defense. She said she was too fast.
I was too tall.
The ball, she would dribble and the ball would just like stay back there, and she just kept going.
My youth basketball days, I was too tall, so I only played defense.
There you go.
So like, Spencer, we're gonna post you up on the block. When we're shooting, we want you on the defensive block.
Yeah, get in my lane, feel the pain. That was your T-shirt.
Yeah, and I just sit there and watch our 4 and 5 offense. All right, I think that'll do it.
Flash
Michael.
to the middle. They're never going to pass to me, but I'm going to flash to the middle anyway.
Yeah,
that was my role. Oh, flash! No, don't give me the ball at the elbow. I don't know what to do.
I can't back anybody down. I have no spin move. I have no hook.
Decoy.
All right, that'll do it for us in 23 Personnel Podcast. Hope to get you ready for the Baylor Bear game this weekend. Homecoming, 3 p.m. on Saturday. Michael and I both taking Texas Tech to win comfortably, but we'll be back Saturday night for Instant Reaction. For Michael and Spencer, catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at FunSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.